Make some noise for the flippin' power of Denny Brauer!
I've always thought of Denny as being amazing. I mean, to me, unbelievable fisherman.
When you get tuned in and you're making all the right decisions, you're hard to beat.
The most impressive thing was about Denny was when he gets on them, he's gonna win.
Denny Brauer is your champion!
I wanted to be the best, and for a while I was the best. That's the attitude every angler has to have if he's going to compete. You got to feel like you want to be the best, but you got to feel that way or you're never going to ever have success.
Denny became my guy. Like, he was one of those guys I looked up to because I wanted to do that.
Ah, baby, look at that toad.
Denny Brauer, he was a flipper, and there wasn't any better. There's a few names that will always be in my mind the best bass fishermen in the world. Kevin Van Dam, Rick Clunn, Denny Brauer. Those guys were just so dominant and so good at what they did.
What has impressed me about that whole group is that their ability to win events. Not do well, win. So a lot of what I did when I became a tournament fisherman was to try to emulate those guys and use what they did to fit my style of fishing. There will be great fishermen that come up behind these guys, but these guys are the originals. Like Denny was the original jig fisherman, the original flipper, boat docks, summertime classics. It didn't matter.
He was the guy in the era that I grew up watching it, that he was the most successful with it, right? On paper, the tournaments, the articles, he was the guy. Being a kid from Idaho, it was only a dream that I could follow in those footsteps.
I remember, the first important bass I caught, and my uncle took me to a sand pit. And you could wade, and the water was clear, and I saw this fish swimming around, and I had a yellow spotted lazy Ike back in those days, an old wooden plug, threw it out there and actually watched the fish eat it. And you talk about getting hooked on something in a hurry. I had to have more of that. Well, I grew up in Nebraska, which is certainly not a bass haven by any means, but about the time I graduated from high school, they had a new set of lakes that they developed for flood control called the Salt Valley Chain of Lakes. And like any new lakes, they were excellent bass fishing. They had stocked them real good, did a good job. Little town I grew up in, Seward, Nebraska, did not have a bass club, so I got a couple guys together and we started a bass club and got involved in fishing the Federation tournaments, and I ended up winning the state tournament the first year that I did participate and got to go to the Nationals. I had a friend that was getting Bassmaster magazine that I worked with, and he brought me a copy of that, and I go, that's pretty interesting. And that's when I became a member of Bass, and that kind of gave me a little momentum and got me thinking about maybe fishing one of the Bassmaster events I'd been reading about. I saw where they were going to come to Lake of the Ozarks, which from Nebraska was only about a 6-hour drive. And so I went ahead and entered that event, and that was in April of 1980. Believe it or not, when I went to Lake of the Ozarks for that first event, I walk into the lobby of the motel to get my room, and who's walking out of the lobby but Bill Dance? He was the first person that I met fishing a tour. My first tournament was Bill Dance's last tournament, so I didn't know I scared him that bad.
Denny Brauer finished 20th place at the 1980 Missouri Invitational. Not bad for his first professional bass event. His first pro win would come 4 years later in March of 1984, the Texas Invitational on Lake Sam Rayburn. 1984 marked the beginning of Denny's march to becoming a bass fishing legend.
I'm Ray Scott for the Bass Angler Sportsman Society, and we'd like to welcome you to the Bassmaster. It's a unique television series where we bring you exciting bass tournament action recorded as it happens.
1984 is when the sport took off. That's when it started to be televised. That's when the world started to know about bass fishing, and that's when it gave the anglers the opportunity to really start getting endorsement money. You know, people ask me, don't you wish you'd have started your career earlier or later? I go, no. I said, timing could have not been any better. I had a couple of years of learning the game, and then when it really got to where it was getting right and you could make some money, I pretty well had my train of thought down and knew how I was going to attack the game.
You're watching The Cast, presented by Bass Pro Shops.
Denny Brauer from Camdenton, Missouri, is one of America's most successful professional bass anglers, with tournament winnings of more than $130,000. 225 days a year, Denny is on the water pursuing the wily largemouth bass.
You know, if it's meant to be, Ray, all I can do is go out and fish as hard as I can every tournament. If it works out right, it works out. And if not this year, maybe next year.
You in there, kid. We're pulling for you. Let's give a nice hand. Denny Brauer, Camden, Missouri.
Really, you ended up self-teaching yourself because you didn't have any other way of learning. Overall, it's just trial and error. Go out and try some stuff, and if it worked, do it again.
That's one reason you see your pros consistently catch fish. They know the different methods, the different techniques of going out there under all types of weather conditions to make these fish bite. Today, we're going to show you a technique called flipping.
Most people think of me as an offshore guy, because that's where a lot of my successes came from. But I grew up in a part of the country where flipping and pitching was the name of the game. And so I grew up, that was like my first love in bass fishing, flipping a jig.
It's a technique that when the fish are in heavy cover, you've got an opportunity to get the bait into them and get them back out. It's a technique for catching really large fish.
So like Denny became my guy. Like he was one of those guys I looked up to because that's what he was known for. I'm like, man, I want to do that, right? Like I just want to flip a jig and just crack them.
I mean, who don't like to see people set the hook with a flipping stick? It's the reason I'm here.
There's a good looking spot. There he is. Now that fish is too big to swing into the boat. Come here, baby. Man, look at the size of him. Oh. Nice fish. The reason I caught that fish is I didn't even see my line move. When I flipped my worm in there, the reeds just shook, and that indicated that he had come and grabbed that bait, and then I saw my line just twitch a little bit, and I went ahead to set the hook, and that's the result. Boy, that's a pretty fish.
Denny Brauer revolutionized bass fishing with his innovative pitching and flipping techniques. He was a dominating force in the sport throughout the 1980s, winning 4 B.A.S.S. first-place finishes. With his unmatched precision and control, he showed the fishing world what was really possible with these specialized techniques. His mastery of targeting tight spots and dense cover set him apart at the highest level of competitive fishing. But like many pro anglers, Denny's early journey to the top wasn't without its struggles.
I've always said that if you're going to make a living in any sport, you've got to put your mind and soul into it. You got to live, eat, and sleep your dream, and that's what fishing is.
Financially, it was a struggle. I come from no money. We had no money. My wife was working to help keep me on the road to the tournaments. And back then, there weren't enough tournaments to really make a living. You had to do something to supplement your income. I was a bricklayer. And then I was a fishing guide. A lot of the guys that had success, your Roland Martins, your Larry Nixons, your Tommy Martins, etc., if you look back, had different jobs. I think Tommy was a banker at one point. Everybody come from different backgrounds.
I think you still have that opportunity, and you don't have to have a silver spoon when you're 10 years old for that to happen. When you really look back and hear the stories from some of these guys, in those first days, they just had enough money to buy gas and go to that first event.
There's one. Oh, he's not very big. Get out of that grass. Just a little one.
Each tournament, you don't take that for granted. Every win is very, very important. It's just another one of those stepping stones that led up to a career stepping stone.
Things are going my way, without a doubt.
The nation's best bass anglers have been going rod to rod to determine who is best. The best bass angler in the world and the #1 ranked contender, 1987 B.A.S.S. Angler of the Year, Denny Brauer of Camdenton, Missouri.
15 pounds, 6 ounces, which puts him back in the lead of the Angler of the Year.
The Angler of the Year was a huge career stepping stone, so to speak. It opened some doors, and it was at a time in my career that I really needed something like that. You don't take that for granted. That's the attitude every angler has to have if he's going to compete. So you learn over time, and I think I was finally to the point in my career I was really at a comfort level with every decision I made.
You're watching The Cast, presented by Bass Pro Shops.
Denny Brauer of Camdenton, Missouri.
The 1980s were an incredible decade for Denny Brauer. In his first 10 years as a pro angler, he managed to win 4 B.A.S.S. events. His momentum and his winning ways were strong enough to carry him to the 1987 Bassmaster Angler of the Year title.
Denny Brauer, a member of Bass and a great bass angler. And for the record, he's finished in the money 37 times in 48 B.A.S.S. pro tournaments. That's strong.
Denny's a winner. That's what's been always been the most impressive thing about Denny, is that Denny could always win, any place.
17 pounds, 4 ounces, boom!
When he gets on them, he's gonna win.
I think I was finally to the point in my career in the 90s where I was really at a comfort level with every decision I made. You know, sometimes you're not gonna be right, but you need to be comfortable with that decision or you're not gonna fish good.
I think I can catch another limit, and hopefully I can catch a big fish or two tomorrow.
Wish you well. Good luck to you, Denny Brauer.
With 8 Bassmaster wins in the decade, the 90s were amazing for Denny Brauer. But one year was absolutely sensational. 4 of those 8 wins came in the year 1998.
What happened in 98 is hard to explain. Some of it, when an angler gets on a roll, is how the lake set up, the conditions. There's so many variables in our sport, but man, when you get tuned in and you're making all the right decisions, you're hard to beat.
He's the embodiment of what it means to be a professional angler.
Denny was the ultimate competitor. He was the machine with a flipping stick.
Anytime you win or accomplish a goal, no matter what your profession is, it just gives you more confidence and it makes it easier to repeat that goal. But each tournament, you don't take that for granted. Every win is very, very important. It's just another one of those stepping stones that led up to 98.
Denny's numbers from 1998 were unheard of at the time. 75,000 each from the Georgia and North Carolina Bassmaster Top 100s, 100 grand from the Maryland Top 150, and 151,000 from the Bassmaster Classic. That's over 400,000 from the wins alone, not counting his finishes in the money in other tournaments. 1998 put him over the top to become B.A.S.S.'s second angler to reach $1 million in tournament earnings.
You know, you can look at it a lot of different ways. You want to be known as the guy that wins $1 million or the guy that won $900,000.
The biggest thing about Denny passing that $1 million mark was it showed you the growth of the sport. There was a chance to win $1 million fast. And for him to go out and win 3 tournaments that paid over $100,000 and plus the Classic, you know, it put him over the $1 million mark in a hurry.
The new champion,
When Denny won the Classic, High Rock Lake, flipping a tube up shallow, I mean, to me, that was just an awesome event because the Classic before, Mark Davis had won cranking. You know, same time of year, it was in the summer. And so to think that he could go win the tournament flipping, that just doesn't happen. And I love that it did.
Financially, it was pretty cool. My accountant, I'm sure, loved it. My mother finally accepted the fact that it wasn't a crazy idea for me to become a bass fisherman. I wanted to be the best, and for a while I was the best. That's the attitude every angler has to have if he's going to compete. You got to feel like you want to be the best. Not everybody's going to be the best, but you got to feel that way or you're never going to ever have success.
Denny Brauer has done it. This is the man for the job today. Definitely. He's basically the Roger Clemens of flipping heavy cover. He does it generally with one bait. He does it with his own signature jig. And when these fish are shallow, they're in heavy cover, he is the man.
Ah, baby, look at that toad. Woo!
I learned a lot about what it takes to win from Denny Brauer because he has that attitude. You know, he's not afraid to go out and finish last.
I need some heart pills or something. God, what a fish.
Denny Brauer!
The cool thing is, when I started my career, it was towards the end of Denny's. But even though Denny wasn't the Denny that I grew up with, I could still win. My first year he won at Eufaula. I think it was his last year when he won on the Arkansas River at Little Rock.
My first year on the Elites, Denny was still fishing and we're at the Arkansas River. It just so happened to be that me and Denny were fishing the same area.
This is just one of them perfect storms right here. The bar that runs out here, it's got some brush on it. The brush has got a boat on it, by the way.
Well, I didn't see him on day one. We had somehow crossed and not seen each other. Day two of the tournament, he's leading and I run back to fish this brush pile. And here he comes, straight at me. And he starts getting on me about coming into his area. And I just looked at him and said, look, Denny, I didn't know you were gonna fish here. You were over there. I just wanna fish this brush pile right here. The last thing you wanna do is be cussed out by the guy that you look up to your entire life. So he takes off and he goes and he fishes a couple more brush piles and a little hard spot off to the right. And I get ready to leave and here he comes again. I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And he looks at me and he goes, hey, I'm sorry. I thought you were gonna come and fish on top of me and you didn't, you stayed right there. He's like, you're right, I didn't know that brush pile was there. I'm sorry. From that day forward, I was like, yep, Denny Brauer's still my guy. He doesn't hate me anymore, I still love Denny.
The first day I fished a total of an hour and a half and caught 15 pounds and went back up just to make sure I didn't get locked out.
It's a gamble. He knows if he gets 2 hours down there, he can win it. I'm going to win, and if I get an hour down there, it may be enough. It's a bass. Somebody's gonna have to, we're gonna have to bust them big time now. And the good thing is all the people that are close are down here with me, so if we get locked out, they get locked out too.
Lock better open in 10 minutes or so, or we all might be late. We got 10 of the 12 guys down here, so we might have no weigh-in today.
I can tell you one thing, my stomach's in a big knot right now.
Lights out.
We had some anglers caught below the lock. We have some late penalties. As I said yesterday, 1 pound per minute, up to 15 minutes, and then you lose your entire catch. Denny Brauer came in today with a 10-pound lead. Almost unsurpassable. Unless, of course, you fall victim to one thing, and that is the locks. We know that some of our leaders were definitely caught up in the locks, ladies and gentlemen. It's one of these guys going to be walking away with it. He's got 5 fish with penalties, 7 pounds, 5 ounces. Denny Brauer is your champion. Come on, Little Rock. Get loud for win number 17.
In my career, I wanted to be the best. Winning that last tournament here on the Arkansas River, that's a story in itself, how that all come down. But that was an awesome relief. It was a good way to go out. Did I want to do a farewell tour and announce before the season? I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to do that for a lot of reasons. Because what if you decide you don't want to retire? The time's not right. So it was kind of a weird deal, but I think I did it at the right time.
Make some noise for the flipping power of Denny Brauer.
Gosh, thank you, folks. That was an awesome ovation. That really does mean a lot. I'm so fortunate to be able to really make a living doing this, what a lot of people love to do just for fun. So I want to thank you fans. This whole deal would not happen without you folks, and we do truly appreciate. I thank you for that.
Would I still like to be out there banging heads yet today? You damn right I would. You know, when I first started, it was so small. Nobody knew who Denny Brauer was. Nobody could care less who Denny Brauer was. You have that competitive desire, but there comes a time where other things, I think, become a little more important to you. I was fortunate. I was able to retire. That says a lot for the sport.